jump into kind of your humble beginnings in Jedi Academy, your origin story, so to speak?
Sure. So I was, it was kind of an interesting time, actually. So I was just bored. I really was just bored of all games. I think I've played every N64 game possible. I was just done. Like, I needed something new. And I was like, what would be like the best sort of game to play? Like, I love Star Wars, it's great at that time. Very much into it. I was like, if you could just jump around with a lightsaber, that's all I want. Just that. And I did some research, found 2 games, Jedi Outcast, and Jedi Academy. And for some reason, I didn't look up which one was the newer one. And of course, I picked Outcast. Thinking it was, you'd think Academy, like beginnings, Outcast, oh, something's happened. It's the second game. No. So so I played Outcast first. Still had no idea it was the prequel to Academy. Played that for about 6 months. And then I heard Jedi Academy was a thing. For 6 months, never heard the thing. And instantly dropped it. And just jumped on Academy and got destroyed, got slapped for laming, got called out. It was a rough beginning, but you could fight with a dual lightsaber. I mean, that's all you needed. For me, that was it. That's all I wanted to do. Just go crazy. Like Darth Maul was like the coolest character at the time with Phantom Menace. So that's all I wanted, and I just kept at it, and that's kind of my beginning, really. Just met up with a guy in a crazy robe on Tatooine, and joined the clan called Jawa, and eventually went on to lead it for about 13, I think it's about 13 years, something like that.
Yeah, long time.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, what year did you say that you got Outcast and then Academy?
So it was in
Was that like
2004, like mid 2004, and then late 2004. I actually finally got Academy around Christmas.
Okay, so mine, I didn't get it until 2005. I grew up with like a PS2, a PS1, and like all that kind of stuff, and so I didn't really jump into like PC games until a little bit later. I was always a huge Star Wars fan since I was like 6 years old, and so like when the Phantom Menace came out, it was huge. Like, you couldn't go anywhere without seeing something related to that movie, and especially as a kid, like, there was a lot of like older generations that hated on it and called it the worst thing to ever grace
still to
Hollywood.
This day they do.
Still to this day they do. But as a kid, it was just like a magical time to be a Star Wars fan. All these games and toys and everything were coming out, and it was like too much sometimes, because if you found a game that you really liked, like back then as a kid, like you saved up money to buy a game, or you asked for it for Christmas or your birthday or something like that.
Yep.
And that's what you played for, the next few months or whatever. So it might take you a while to get through. Yeah. So you would have missed some games, like you said, you didn't even hear about Jedi Academy until later. So that's kind of how I was. We didn't have the internet to, like, at least not what it is today, to find out about all these, like, there's so many games from back then.
Yeah.
So I think Jedi Academy ended up being one of the last ones that I actually played up until that point. There was like the Phantom Menace games and Attack of the Clones games, and KOTOR came out that same year, and I think I played KOTOR before I played Jedi Academy or Jedi Outcast or anything like that. I think I played it on an Xbox first.
Yeah.
So then eventually my brother's friend was over one time, and he brought his GameCube, and I had never even seen a GameCube before, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. I think we just had a Super Nintendo and a PS1 at that point. And he had Jedi Outcast, And, as soon as I see the Star Wars logo, I just immediately like go for it.
Yeah.
And they were like busy playing Smash Bros. And I was like, God, I just want them to stop playing. I just wanted them to stop playing that game. And I wanted to try out this Star Wars game. And eventually they did stop. And so I snuck in. I was like, I'm going to play this game. So I started playing Jedi Outcast, and I was like enthralled by it. Just the lightsaber combat and everything. You're like slicing down stormtroopers and stuff. So I didn't get to play a whole lot of it, but just those first few levels, I was like, whoa. And he had a save game where he was later, where you actually had the lightsaber. So I was actually like able to check out the lightsaber stuff. And so then like a year, maybe 2 years later, I don't really remember, because that game came out in 2002, and then Jedi Academy in 2003, and I didn't get Academy until 2005, so it might have been 2 years later or something like that. But I was just in Walmart with my mom, and as soon as we would always go to the store, like I would just beeline it to the video game section, and see what I could maybe afford with my little money that I had. And,
hell yeah, good old days, blockbuster days.
So yeah, blockbuster days, yeah.
Yeah, just the idea of browsing for a game was just so magical. You could just and just go based off the covers. It was great. Marketing was everything back then.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and the booklets in the games and stuff. I mean, they didn't have those in like Blockbuster and stuff, but that was kind of a underrated or underappreciated, I should say, feature back then.
For sure.
The two games that I saw that I really wanted were KOTOR 2 and Jedi Academy, and I ended up having enough money for both of them, I think, and which was wild because I think KOTOR 2 had just come out that year. Then I put in Jedi Academy for the first time, and I started playing it, and I was like, amazed again at the game. But like, since I'd only played Outcast before, it was a little different enough to when I didn't even really realize that it was the same series, or like it was a sequel or whatever.
Yeah.
Didn't click until like, honestly, probably a couple of years later.
Really?
Where I was just thinking about that memory of like playing Jedi Outcast. I was like, didn't I play a game? Like, what was that game that I played? And I was like, oh, wait. Is this the same series? I felt like an idiot. I pretty much just became addicted from like day one, just playing through single player.
Oh, you're a single player guy.
Yeah, a lot of people call me crazy, or don't really understand how I could spend that many hours just playing single player, not even playing with anybody else. And I managed to keep busy with it. And once I learned like all the commands, like the cheats and like all the different things you can do on the console, like spawning NPCs and choosing whatever lightsaber, whatever color, and like all that kind of stuff, that kept me going for a little while. And then I discovered mods. And once you discover mods in a game, like, you spend more hours browsing for mods than you do actually playing with them. Yeah. I think the modern meme for that is Skyrim. People,
for sure.
People spend way more time getting all the mods that they want and getting them to work correctly, and then they actually sit down and play it, and they're like, now I need something else. Like, you go back and try to find more. So that's kind of how I was for a long time.
Yeah.
And I learned how to make mods, and that took up a lot of time. And so
I've got a few of your mods, I think, in my base folder, like your Luke one. Thinking about it.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, some good stuff you've made over the years, seriously.
Yeah, I think this earliest stuff that I made, like before JKHub, wasn't that great, but once JKHub came back and I had my own laptop. I was in college at the time, and I just kind of like went crazy with making more.
Yeah.
So like I took a break from, because it was bad with like how addicted I was, and I think we'll probably get to that later. But I took a break like late high school. I finally got a girlfriend, and I had this big group of friends that I was always playing with and like playing other games with, and so I took a break from Jedi Academy finally, like in 2009 or something like that, and then JKHub came around.
Of course.
And y'all ruined me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I just kind of got right back into being addicted again. So
Yeah, it is a hell of a drug, I'll tell you now.
Yeah.
Man, if I could show you my grades cards, you'd see the curve where, JK came into my life. It was like, boom, straight down.
Yeah.
And honestly, for years, I was like, I kind of had a grudge against myself for it. I kind of felt bad, but man, and we'll go into this later and stuff, I'm sure, but it's literally given me everything in my life. So I'll take the bad grades. Thankfully, I managed to get a decent job somehow. Someone managed to hire
exactly.
me. God knows how with those grades, but yeah, it's it'll suck the life out of you, but it was for a good cause. Yeah, I think I knew that somewhere. Little part of my brain.
Yeah. I forgot to mention that I didn't have internet in my bedroom growing up. My parents didn't. Our house wasn't wired for it, and that was before Wi-Fi, So the computer with the internet that we had was in their bedroom. So I had my computer in my bedroom and I had all my games on it and everything. So anytime I wanted to do anything on the internet, I would have to go into their room. And when you're downloading mods and stuff, you have to have a way to transfer it between two computers. My solution was to get CDRs.
I knew you were going to say that.
Files back then weren't that big, but I could only fit so many. So when you spend an entire afternoon sifting through JK3 files to find the mods that you want, and then you have hundreds of them in a folder that you want to copy to CD, sometimes you have to have multiple CDs, and so I think I ended up having a huge stack by the end of that whole era of just CDs that had files on them for Jedi Academy.
In pen or something, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
After college, and I was like, should I throw these away? Should I keep them? It's
you probably got some hidden gems.
There's no reason to have them. Yeah, that's true. There's probably stuff on there that was on PC game mods and sites that don't exist anymore.
Yeah. That was something else, that website.
So for people that don't know, PC Game Mods was a super sketchy site that people uploaded things that were back then you had to be careful with copyright material and stuff like that, but there was also some naked skins of characters, and
that was always in the top 10.
Yeah, stuff like that. And I don't think I ever clicked on those because back before it was shut down, I was too young to even comprehend that was even a thing.
Yeah,
I mean, I knew it was a thing, but
so I definitely clicked. And you didn't.
Yeah, I was definitely.
I'll tell you now.
I was definitely too young. I want to talk about laming.
Yes.
Do you know the history of laming?
No, I know that I heard little rumors that Slider took some code from someone on Jedi Outcast, or there was some sort of laming rule in JK2 or something. I really don't know the backstory though, if there even is one.
Yeah, apparently there is. I don't know if it's word of truth or anything. Someone filled out the wiki article on JKHub about it, and
must be accurate then.
I was yeah, of course. I was just reading through it, and it's so okay. I guess I should clarify to the people who don't know what we're talking about. Laming is in the game. You're able to chat, and when you chat, you have a bubble above your head that says that you're typing, or you are paused, not paused, but you have your menu up in some way, and you can also turn your lightsaber on and off. So if you have your lightsaber off and you have your chat bubble up, that usually means in most popular servers that you don't want to be killed. You don't want to be attacked. So laming is the act of attacking somebody with their chat bubble up and their lightsaber off. And some servers went even further, like if you have your lightsaber off, like even if your chat bubble isn't up, like you can, that's still cause for sleeping or whatever other kind of consequence that punishment they think. Yeah. So
crazy.
So apparently the history is, the origin, according to the wiki article, is it did start out on Jedi Outcast. Okay. The term was created just because they thought that it was lame. Like, don't be lame. Don't attack people that don't want to be attacked. And it just ended up.
There's certain things you just don't need to know.
Yeah, it's
that on its own is lame. It's really bad.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, it did start in JK2, which I didn't know.
Yeah,
I thought that was kind of
there was
interesting.
mods to prevent it, apparently. And apparently JA Plus was based off of a very popular JK2 mod. And then I think the mod author of the JK2 accused Slider of copying it or something like that. We're
I remember
years ago, this story, so I don't know if there's any truth to it. He had the same commands, though, like sleep and all those sorts of things. So, yeah.
Yeah. So in JA Plus, did it have a feature to, like, prevent it from happening?
Prevent it? You had, like
if someone had their chat bubble up.
So, yeah, if you have your chat bubble up, there is a setting to stop you from being hurt. So if you're suddenly getting attacked, then you just smack the end escape key, and then suddenly you wouldn't be attacked if you're in the menus or chatting. So usually a lot of lamers would do it really sneakily and just like sneak up, do like a red DFA, and just kill you. And then just disconnect or something. That's usually the way that they did it, because people just got so used to defending themselves with chat, basically.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think they call it God mode or something like that. The admin, it literally was God, because you wouldn't be hurt at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it like being used in like a fight. Like if you're about to die, just press escape.
Yeah, it's pretty broken, honestly.
Yeah, so I guess that makes sense why it wasn't turned on those servers.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also for those of you who don't know, it's one of those like rules that like everyone didn't really understand. Well, I shouldn't say that. It was a rule that a lot of people didn't think needed to exist, but when it did need to exist, it really did need to exist. Yeah. But it also attracted a lot of trolls, I should say, because once you have a rule like that in place, it's kind of just asking for, abuse.
It really is, and that's the thing, like, so I led Java for like 10, 13 years, however long it was, and our server was quite popular for quite a long time, and we had the laming rule. After I left, though, I started a clan community, whatever you want to call it, called Arcadia, and we just had no rules. Simple as. We just took away laming, swearing, all those things. Just said, just be nice, just be cool. And literally, we never had, I don't think, maybe one problem in that whole time. Yeah. Everyone was just, if it's there, people are going to break it. And I kind of get it, honestly. Like, being on the other side of the fence, I'm like, all I want to do is just fight my friends and just mess with them, and they mess with me, and
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
freedom. Just joking around. So very much on the other side of the fence these days. That's for sure.
Yeah. There were groups just completely dedicated to sabotaging servers like Java,
Yep.
and like
And
that
they did a
was the
really good
only
job
reason
at
for
it.
them existing. Yeah. Yeah.
Credit where it's
I
due.
mean,
They did really good. Man,
Yeah.
honestly, as soon as you remove those rules, there's no trouble. There's really not.
Yeah.
But at the same
For
time,
the
it's
most
kind of
part.
fun to have those to break. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
changed
I'm
a
never a
lot.
proponent of like trolling to like ruin someone else's fun. Like if it's fun for that server to have those rules, I don't really find it cool to like ruin that, you know? So it's just like there's so many different types of players and clans and groups and in the game that like find what works for you, stick to it, and like don't ruin it for other people is kind of my rule for that. So
Yeah, I mean that's the right approach, I'd say. But it's
Yeah.
just so nice to know that there's just so many different types of people, and over the last 10 years, there's so many different places you could have gone. Like if you had a certain way of playing, there's a server for you, or at least there was, I would say.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was just great. It really
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, I didn't get to play multiplayer until much later. So I kind of missed the big glory days, I would say, of like
How long did you
multiplayer
play
Jedi
single
Academy.
player? Here we go.
I hear judgment in your voice.
I'm waiting for this. Come on.
So I started in 2005, and I played until. I want to clarify, it's not just playing, like I was modding and like creating mods and stuff too, but probably up until like 2008, 2009.
Man, wow. So 3 or 4 years.
And I took that break, and then when I was in freshman in college in 2012 and 2013, like when JKHub was like launching, and I'm pretty sure you were the one that emailed me about like, you know, getting my mods uploaded and stuff.
Really?
I was like, that's pretty cool.
Oh, okay, yeah. I never realized that.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's funny you say that actually, because I was looking today, and I think I emailed about 500 people, maybe 600, to get those mods from JK Files. I didn't want to just take them because that it never felt right with me.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, though. By doing that, it completely drained me, and I was just done.
Yeah.
I actually hated JKHub. It really did. And it wasn't because of anything about the website. It was just I was so sick of that file section. Upload, copy, paste, upload, copy, paste. I think I uploaded about 1,000 files in like the first 3 weeks. That was way overboard. I was so stupid for doing that.
Yeah, and it wasn't an intuitive system to do it through, so I can definitely see why that would burn you out for sure.
Yeah, I was done. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's worse now.
Really?
But like back then you had like probably 3 or 4 clicks to like upload a file max, and now it's like it's a whole ordeal.
Really?
It's like probably 10 or 12 clicks to like get it uploaded, and like on our end, like you have to like approve it. Like even if you're staff, you have to like go through like approval and like all that kind of stuff. It's obnoxious. But yeah,
fun times.
1,000 files is a lot.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, you'd only get like 30% of people replying to I send so many of these things, but like that 30%, each one would probably have about 5 to 10 files. So it's just so many.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was fun. I think I spoke to pretty much every active mod off if possible as well. It was a really cool experience to talk to these people that just made these amazing mods and models, skins, maps. Sif J. Cole, for example, Hapslash, just all these really cool people that you just admire so much, and then suddenly they're like, yeah, how's it going? You know, it was just great. Fun time, but too much, way too much.
Yeah, fun time until the end of it. And not so fun.
It's like, bye.
Yeah. I remember like I think you had left around the time that I had like joined and like was starting to be active, because I was one of the people that you emailed. So probably around the same time. And so I mean, you were still around obviously, but you definitely weren't active. No, I would say.
No, it's a shame as well. It was so needed. Like JK Files going down was just a huge blow to the whole community, because that everyone went there, not just for like files, but just to like the forums, the Gamefront forums, everything. It was like a central place. It really was. Like everyone was there. FileFront, as it used to be.
FileFront had like a whole network of like multiple games, not just Jedi Academy. It was like Battlefront and Medal of Honor and KOTOR and
I mean, JK was like easily the most popular, and it just says a lot, that because Jedi Academy is kind of like a niche game, but because of the modding scene, it just I think without mods, the game would have been long dead. I think long dead.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think it would have survived long enough with multiplayer, but the reason that multiplayer survived and is surviving so long is because of mods, because it just lets you do so much more and keep it more interesting. So
for sure,
it was actually kind of crazy how like the timing worked out, because we knew that there were like a lot of issues with JK3 files like a few years prior to JKHub actually launching, where it would like the server would go down, like the web server would go down, the website would just like not be there, and then it would come up again like a day later or like a week later. And so like
it was on shaky ground.
The fact that the fact that it survived as long as it did is kind of amazing, but the timing of like you guys getting all that stuff uploaded and launching, and then JK3 file or Gamefront like closed down, like what was it, like a year later, maybe like
I think
a year and a half or something.
So they were kind of like in parallel for quite a while, but I mean JK Files always had like the same 3 files at the top, so you knew it was broken. Like I was the reviewer for like a few months there, so I was talking to like Inuri Forge and all these sorts of people, and the whole admin side of things was just completely broke. Like it was, you couldn't do anything with it anymore. So I mean thankfully like Calum and like Wonko and all these people just made the backups that they did, and their new websites, and I think we've pretty much got everything now. The only hole in the community is PC game mods, unfortunately. I'm really sad. I'm so sad that that's gone. It is what it is.
It's the hole in all of our hearts that we'll never get back.
Definitely.
So JKHub launched in 2012, right?
I think so, yeah.
I know it was in like early access during like 2011. And the only reason I know that is because, like, since I'm staff, I can, like, go back through and see all the old original posts of, like, between you and Calum and some of the other staff that were, like, there at the beginning. And
he was tinkering for a long time, Calum, to make that work, right? He really had the vision for it.
Yeah.
And it took longer than it needed to, but I'm glad that he put that focus on the right areas, because... It turned out really well, I think.
Yeah, I think it definitely had a lot more promise than what ended up happening. Or I guess that's part of just how, like, I think Calum had that vision and then he kind of just disappeared after like a year. and then disappeared again, and then again, and
He's a magician.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think he probably got burnt out too.
Oh, he did. He definitely did. Yeah. For
he
many
also
reasons.
got a lot of
JK for sure.
A lot of abuse and all this terrible stuff from the community for some reason. Like, whenever you provide a service to a community and they treat you like that, I definitely understand how someone would want to disappear.
Yeah, for sure. And Caleb's not innocent as well. He'd often like taunt these people. So, you know,
yeah,
he just poke the
that's
bear
a good point.
constantly. It's like, please stop, because we were the ones getting hit with all these things. Because everyone used his and mostly still do through like Asulin and everyone. So he was like, please stop. But it is what he was like, and honestly, he had such a great service, and we rarely had any problems under his banner, thankfully.
Yeah. So, what was like some of the things that you, or maybe not you specifically, but like Calum and like the early team, did you have like certain features planned that just never happened or anything like that? Or was it always supposed to be just like files, tutorials, wiki?
There was two things that come to mind there. There's the wiki that obviously came to be like, I think a few years after that, but the vision, like, because I've made wikis, I've maintained them before, so the vision I kind of had for it was you could look up anything on there. Like, for example, like stupid thing like a medpack entity. You could go on there, you could find out the model name, where it's stored, and like the assets, like the values attached to it. You know, all these like cool things, and like, you know, that a coder could use, for example. Just from that all the way to I wouldn't say like stories about the game, because I mean they're always biased, right? So just I don't know, just like the history of the game, those sorts of things. It was ideally meant to cover literally everything about the game, but that never really came to pass, just because to do something like that you need a big team that cares just as much about you with those things. And it's fair enough, like I like writing things, not everyone does, so I just didn't really have the backing of everyone to do that, and it was fair enough, to be honest. A similar sort of situation with kind of like Arcadia before it was Arcadia. Like, I wanted like a JKHub server where it was just do whatever you want sort of thing, just seriously, and just encourages like clans to recruit and all these sorts of things. So those are the two things I always wanted from JKHub that just never really came to be, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I always wanted the wiki to be more too, but it was always a problem, like you said, like if you don't have a team, and we've always had it opened up to anybody can contribute to it, and then like we have our staff to like, you know, look through it to make sure like people aren't like putting like pictures of boobs in there and stuff like that. And
the history of Tavion's model on PC game mods. Yeah,
you know, I guess that was a bad example, because that might be useful. That's important history.
Yes.
It's just like, as soon as you have a big task like that, like no one person is gonna want to contribute unless they see other people also contributing. And writing wikis is kind of hard. The formatting or the syntax or whatever is not intuitive, and you have to kind of know what you're doing. So I get why a lot of people just haven't really jumped into that, but
yeah, they really need to get on like a what you see is what you get editor, really, with wikis. But for now, it's just equal signs everywhere, mostly. Yeah. It's always that weighing up of like, do enough people even care, to be honest? So it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's
sure.
it's one of those things where people would appreciate it, but they don't necessarily care enough to help or even like check it out, like unless they have to.
It's true.
And the people that have to usually probably already know the stuff. They just want to be reminded of information or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So going back to what you said about like a JKHub server, that was always something that people wanted. I know the community definitely wanted it, but I know Caleb always said that he didn't want it because, like, what mod are you going to put on it? What rules are you going to put on it? And, like, how many people are you going to piss off because you have the laming rule? Or, like, if you don't have the laming rule, or if you have J plus and not, I don't know, Luger mod or something, which apparently is something a lot of people have been asking for in the Discord lately.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I feel like 4 or 5 people in the last like couple weeks. I feel like it's been like brought up a lot lately. But
I think it had a revival, didn't it? Like from the days I used to play in like 2006, it was always the same system. It was build a few walls, get bored, collect the stash, whatever that is, and then go back to where you are, wait 15 minutes, collect the stash, build the wall, level up. It's like, what are we doing? But it was fun.
Yeah.
Because there was all the role play side of it. But back then it was pretty vanilla.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of mods that just kind of like, they were popular for a time and then kind of went away. There's Luger mod, Maker mod, and
Glam mod, X mod, I think was one.
Yeah. Yeah.
JA++ Razors mod.
Yeah, if you want to call that another mod.
Yeah, he did it. So it actually was like built up from the ground with Razor. Because he was in Jawa while he was building this thing, so we were really close to like working through stuff. But I think his mistake with that was trying to base it too much on JA+, and then it just wasn't JA+, and no one was. I mean, it was used, but it was never even saw the light of day compared to JA+, unfortunately, because he put so much work into it.
Yeah, I feel like people ended up using it on the client side more than server side, and it worked fine with JA+ server side, but
it's great. Yeah, it really was. He made a really good
some
client
people
side
still use it. Yeah. The whole JKHub server idea is something I still like kick around every once in a while, and I have that server that I don't really have a use for. I just kind of have it, and I've considered making that a JKHub server.
Same question.
I struggle to find
what mod you put on it.
Active. Yeah. Well, I've also like who's gonna be the admins on it. Like something happens, like who's gonna jump in and deal with it. I mean, we'd probably have minimal rules, but still. So like I struggle to find active staff for the forum itself, so I don't know.
Fair enough.
And clans struggle to find people nowadays anyway, so
big time.
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's something that I've always kind of wanted to do, but it's just kind of a complicated situation, and it also paints a big target on your back.
It's true,
which is a big reason why Caleb didn't do it back then. As soon as you put JKHub on anything or his name on anything, like it's a big target for some reason.
Yeah.
Didn't you also want to have like more news related stuff?
Oh yeah, I forgot all about that. I really tried that as well in the second run. There's so many like things with Jedi Academy. Like I'm just gonna knock everything over. Like in the guidebooks and everything. Like it's just insane. Like the amount of things that you can just come across, which like were taken out or put back in. It's just like even like on. I should have really bookmarked this, but here's where we are. But like even on just this page, there's like Saboteur's got a visor. What's that about? Just random things like that. Because there really isn't much news in Jedi Academy. It's just not. Even when in its heyday, everyone kept to themselves. If they wanted to talk to other people, it was usually to get some help with something, to help them with something else. So Yeah, the whole news idea is kind of tough. You kind of have to make your own news in a way.
Yeah.
Which seriously, you guys have been doing such a good job with. Like JKHub is really like your mod contests and like all these sort of random things that you put together, like how to use JK and like modern times and stuff. That's what it should be, and it's really good. I love all that stuff, really do.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
It's good stuff. Seriously.
Yeah, it's. I remember back in when I kind of not first started, but when I was like in the middle of my like staff tenure. It's just stupid to say. I was trying so hard to like, you know, come up with new features, come up with new events, and you know, create my own news, I guess you should say. And I think we started doing, or you guys had done interviews before, but then we kind of brought that back for a time, and I think I interviewed you.
I think so, yeah.
And then you interviewed somebody when you came back for like a few months. You interviewed somebody, I forget who it was.
There was Primal Gaming, who was making that JK2 movie. That was quite a fun one, actually. And who's the person that makes like the really amazing looking menus? Is it Skyline or something like that? The mod.
Yeah, Skyline.
That's gonna kill me not knowing his name. But yeah,
Centra.
I think I'm pretty sure I interviewed Centra as well. Oh, that was
I think
it's really fun. Those things really kind of missed those in a way.
Yeah. Interviews were good, and I've been considering like bringing them back, but like a lot of people are gone.
Yeah.
And like, so the only people that are around are like the people in like the Discord and the coding team for OpenJK and stuff like that, which would be interesting to interview them, but there's just not a lot of people around anymore.
Yeah, it's just JOF these days, right?
Yeah. Well, I already interviewed them, so
it's done.
Yeah.
Those guys have done amazing, by the way. Like, I know they sometimes get a bad rap, sometimes they get a great rap, but they've really just, like, the clan model, they've perfected it. They really have. Yeah. That makes everything that, like we did, but amateur hour. And I really worked hard on those sorts of things as well. I put everything into it. But when I see what they've put together, it's like, wow, that's impressive. I think they'll go down as probably like the best clan, for sure. It's kind of a shame that it's kind of monopolized everything. Like everyone wants to go to that place, EU mostly, but at the same time, you just got to compete with those guys, and that's such an effort to do. So I get where it's at. It's just kind of unfortunate that it's just one and KR, I would say. It is what it is. Yeah, it's wild how big they still are. Like they probably make up most of the Jedi Academy multiplayer community. Yeah, it's easily over 50% for sure. Yeah, and I don't know. Like, I wish I could like pull back the curtain a little more. Like, I know I interviewed them a while ago. That was years ago now. They were the biggest then, and they're the biggest now. But they're very private. And if you ask anything about how they function, or like anything, if you're not in the clan already, like you're gonna get the silent treatment, and it's very strange. I mean, what they're doing is working, but I do think sometimes their attitude can be a little strange about very
some of that
off.
stuff.
Yeah, very strange. Very strange bunch of people, but it's super impressed. And I've got a lot of friends in there as well, for sure. But I do too. I mean, I think anybody that's been playing this game probably knows someone who has been in or is currently in that clan. Yeah, good point, actually.
So, maybe an interview with them wouldn't be a bad thing.
Yeah, I think so.
See how open they could be.
Just a backlight and just a just black silhouette.
Yeah. Anonymous silhouette, yeah. A voice changer and everything. So since Jedi Academy has been such a huge thing in our lives, how has it like affected you now, or just in your general like current situation, or like your job or your personal lives?
Oh man, I don't even know where to start with answering that, because so I met like most of my closest friends through this game. Just, I think at its peak, I was talking to hundreds of people weekly, I think I would say, which is a lot of people. And I knew them, like we would just talk and catch up, and I'd spend all my day on this game, just talking constantly. So thankfully I carried quite a lot of friends through the years, and like a lot of them materialized into like real life friends. And as I've said in like my video and stuff that I've just recently put together, I've been to like the weddings, and some of them have actually had kids together. Absolutely crazy. I mean, personally speaking, like one of the first people I recruited in Jawa in like 2005-ish, something like that, was Draggy. And when we were finally like both single, like a few years ago, I should say, we started getting a little bit closer, and we eventually just like got married back in December last year now. So a few months ago, basically. So it's just absolute roller coaster, and it's literally given me everything, this game. Yeah, I really can't say enough about how much I love this game and the people in it. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I had no idea that you got married in December.
Yeah,
I don't think you told me. But you know, it's not.
I usually keep these things like kind of to myself, unless you know.
Yeah, it's not like we're sharing everything about our lives with each other all the time.
We just catch up, right? It's one of those friendships that you just like, oh hey, and you just catch up.
Yeah. You show up and ask me something random.
Just like,
and
hey, look.
Then we just, hey. By the way. Yeah, so I haven't said it yet, but congrats on that.
Thank you so much.
That is awesome.
Pretty wild. Yeah.
For me, I don't have anything like that exciting with related to how this game has affected me, but it definitely has taught me a lot of skills and patience and all that kind of stuff. I mean, by learning how to mod the game, like I learned so much about like just how computers and files and like all this kind of stuff worked, and some of the, not necessarily programming, but you know, the general like with NPC files and like stuff like that, like just little things like that. You, as a kid, you learn that stuff, and then you learn something more advanced like, I don't know, JavaScript or something, like, hey, that's like kind of similar to how that worked in Jedi Academy. Like I could work with that. Like, and so that just became super valuable with just how I have like learned everything since then. And troubleshooting was a big thing. Like when you're modding a game and you have
a lot of
giant list of things you printed off from your mom's computer of like how to make a skin in Jedi Academy, and then you don't want to go back to the computer to like ask people for help, so you just try to figure it out yourself. And like you just, if something doesn't work, then you like go back and try to figure out how it needs to work.
Teenagers.
Yeah. Compare how someone else did what you're doing, like how did they do it, and then you know figure out how they did it. And so stuff like that is really valuable. And so I mean, now I'm in IT, so that kind of is related to that, just like, you know, troubleshooting and fixing things and stuff like that, but also with like web development. And since I was kind of like tossed into the deep end with JKHub, and like I hadn't really had all that much experience with web development other than like HTML and CSS and stuff like that, like super basic stuff that I learned in high school. And then when I came on staff on JKHub, the whole staff team was just very, I wouldn't say in shambles, but it was just like very bare bones. Like Caleb had already left, you had already left. I think all the core staff had already left. There was like 2 moderators, and then Fighter was the guy that Caleb had put in charge as like managing the back end and like all the technical stuff about the site. And then like not too long after I joined staff, he decided he was going to leave, and no one else really was interested in like helping with some of that technical stuff. And
everyone looked
so
to you.
I was just like, yeah, I was like, I guess I'll try. So it just kind of fell into my plate, and I was happy to like give it my best shot and learn as much as I could, as fast as I could. Because, at that point, it was like a year or year and a half after it launched, which was probably its like most viewed, like it was probably its most popular time. Thousands of users and views and stuff like that. So if you screw something up, a lot of people are going to be mad at you. So
Yeah, they'll notice.
Yeah, kind of a lot of pressure. So just learning about like how web servers work and hosting and all that kind of stuff was really valuable. And
let's be honest, Caleb didn't make it easy. So
no, not at all.
He was very bespoke, so I imagine that was pretty difficult to pick up fresh.
Yeah. There was, because we had that free web hosting service, which I don't know if that was a thing when you were there, but it was something that Caleb had put in place before he left because they had a VPS. So they were like, oh, we have the ability to just like add as many domains as we want and, host all these websites, and it doesn't cost us any extra, so we could just offer it for free. And then like over that year period of me like being in charge, basically, I had to learn like what the heck web hosting was in the first place, and like how it worked, how the servers worked, how like cPanel worked and WHM and all this stuff. And because I was basically like the manager like of this service, like offering web hosting to all these clans, and I think we had like 20 clans with websites at the peak of it.
Yeah, it's popular.
And all expecting, premium web hosting service. I wouldn't say premium, but free web hosting service.
Yeah. Expect the minimum, right? Yeah, with these sorts of things. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just kind of had to buckle up and go in for the ride, because it was a lot to kind of take in. And Caleb did, since that was like early in our friendship, I should say, I was mostly just bugging him about like, hey, how does this work? How do I do this? Like, what do I need to do? And I'm sure I don't know how we became friends, because yeah, I'm the reason why he left. There's only so much of this stuff that I can Google before I don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
So like I needed someone else to help me out. So he did help me out here and there. But otherwise I just had to kind of figure that stuff out on my own. And
no, you should seriously be proud of what you've put together, like since taking over the reins. It's great. It really is. And
I appreciate that.
It's got to be a tough thing to sort of maintain as well. I imagine it's not cheap. I imagine it's not easy to find people to help. I imagine there's a lot of, I'm using Envision, so I know the pain with that. So I get it. It's got to be pretty interesting to have that as like a side thing.
Going back to how it's affected me, like being in charge of JKHub or just being a part of that team over these last few years, I guess almost 10 years now, has like taught me a lot of just like leading a team and like leading a project or a website and community, and learning about all the like web related stuff. And it has been really valuable. But outside of JKHub, I had a short run with a clan, leading a clan, and so that also
Shadow Order, right?
taught me a lot of
Good
Shadow Order. Yeah, you were in it for a little bit towards the end.
Yeah. It was really fun. Really fun.
Yeah, because it was kind of like you with Arcadia, like it just kind of made it minimal rules, and but we set up ranks and stuff like that, and so we try to keep it chill, but have something that everyone could strive to get to, for better or worse.
It's my entry to base, basically, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of our big thing, was it was like the only clan in base, and so I think that's why we got a lot of the numbers that we did. And then like having a relationship with like you and like other people in Jawa, and also just JKHub, like that, I think that really helped bring people in to that. So we grew really fast, and I think we had up to like 30 or 35 people at the peak, and that was just within like the first year, which was crazy. And so that made me learn a lot of just how to lead a team of that size. And like when you're leading a clan in a game, it's kind of like, sometimes it could be a full-time job, but it's definitely a part-time job.
100%.
And I mean, you probably know that more than anybody because of how long you did it, but
it really is.
You also had you had a good like council of like leadership too, right?
Yeah, so depending on like the year, it was always like me as leader, and we always tried adding more people as leaders, but they just kind of became like the council in the end, just because same with you, like with JKHub, like there's always like one like that's spearheading everything, and that's how it should be. There should just be one person like motivating the troops to push something further. It's how every job in the world runs, you know, it's no exception.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it was just a great time overall. But yeah, it's learning skills though. It's done an insane amount of good for me. I've learned confidence. I've learned how to project manage, plan things. I always said when I was a kid to my teacher, they always say, "Why didn't you plan anything?" I say, "I'll never plan in my life. I don't need to plan. I'll just do it." I used to always be so like, "Yeah, it'll be fine." I learned to plan the hard way.
Yeah,
it's just so many skills. It really, like, these are skills that people develop with years in like business and these sorts of things. And I know I'm building out way above what it probably is, but it seriously is people managing skills. It doesn't matter if you don't see them.
Yeah.
I mean, we live in a remote world in work anyway now. This is like running a clan, but like with real people, and they were anyway. But you know what I mean. It's with real consequences. Nothing's really different other than the systems that you're using. It's still people, still all talking, just more professionally sometimes.
Yeah. I think it's probably more understood by the general population now that people are used to doing things remotely. But back then, like, you said that you were leading a group of people in a video game, like online, or just online in general, not even the video game portion of it. Like, people would have just like laughed at you and like, that's not real.
You always leave the Star Wars bit out in my experience. It's nerdy enough without Star Wars being in the beginning of that sentence.
There's thresholds that you need to like leave off. Like, it's online. It's a video game. Oh, and it's also Star Wars. Like, there's 3 different levels.
You're like, oof. Okay.
Yeah.
But everyone gets it now because we're all from the same era, mostly. The people that are online.
That's why I have started to kind of open up about it. I mean, I know a lot of people in my personal life have no idea that all of this existed in my life, and like that it was so impactful. And so like they're probably going to watch this and be like, whoa.
Ooh.
The whole clan thing was good for learning how to delegate too, which is why I brought up the council, because when you're a leader of something, like, and you're passionate about it, you just want to do everything yourself, and And then if you have a good team behind you, and if your clan's big enough, you have multiple teams that can do, which I think is why JOF has succeeded so much, because they have so many people that are so good at different things. Like they have an entire like media team and like modding team and like a event planning team, and like it's not just one person. Like they have a whole team dedicated to each of these things that are just constantly like providing content and experiences for their users. That's like I was doing that on a very small scale, even compared to like Java and stuff, and it was draining.
It's absolutely.
And I tried to delegate as much as I could, but when you're starting a clan or any group of any kind, like you have to decide over time like who can handle certain tasks and like who's interested enough to handle those tasks. And so just learning how to deal with that was very valuable too. So I still didn't get all that good at it of delegating things, but I definitely think I learned things in the end, and would definitely do things differently if I was doing it again. But more likely those experiences will come in handy in the workplace or family or stuff like that. So
this is how we learn.
Yep. So that's a lot of things to take out of a video game, but that's just how it goes.
It just shows how big, impactful, how much of a sandbox Jedi Academy was and is and will be. It's forged so many connections in every single way possible. It's just a great game. It really is. I'd probably rank it my best game, my favorite game. It was always Ocarina of Time for years, I think, until I made that video and I'm like, okay, maybe it is Jedi Academy. Because I've had the best few years with the game, for a lot of different reasons, but it really is my favorite game, I would say.
Yeah, it's always definitely going to be in my top 5. I always change the order of that list, like depending on my mood. Like I think KOTOR is always going to be at the top.
It's such a good game.
But yeah, it's just the kind of game that I have always loved, and like story games are just always my thing. But yeah, Jedi Academy bounces in that top 5. Sometimes it gets to 2, depending on my mood.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you think this game sits overall in the, I mean, obviously you rank it your number 1, but like compared to like other games in the Star Wars catalog of gaming, how do you think it sits in the context of like the general population? Like how do you think people overall would rank this game? And not talking like someone brand new that played through them all, like someone that has played through them all.
I think your average player, like if you were to rank it out of 10, I'd probably reckon most people, I don't think anyone would give it a 10 because it's got its flaws, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I think people would give it like a solid 7.5 to 8, I would say. I think it's a really solid game that, a lot of people say that they want JK4 or whatever you would even call it. I think they should just come up with a new name at this point. I don't know. Like there's been fan remake attempts. Is it Vertex or I'm pretty sure it's Vertex.
Yep. Yeah, Vertex.
Where they based a lot of the combat off Jedi Academy, but I don't know. It's just nice the way it is, like combat wise. And once you try and emulate it, same with like Razor and JP Plus, once you try and emulate something that's so loved, people are super critical about that stuff. So I don't know.
I mean,
it's a tough one.
Yeah, on that topic, it's like depends on the community that you ask, because people that were there at the beginning and stuck to like base servers or J plus servers, which nowadays people are like considering those two like in the same group, which makes me a little angry, but compared to like Movie Battles 2, for example, or Open Jedi Project or something like that, that changed the saber combat or just the combat in general like drastically to where it almost feels like a completely different game.
Yeah.
So I think people that play Movie Battles would say like, oh yeah, we really need like a JK4 or like something more, something that's the same but better and like stuff like that. But then you have people that like maybe you and me, or like people that have been on pure base servers like playing competitively for 20 years now, that would say like, no, don't try to recreate it, because it's just not really going to happen. And ironically, Vertex is being made by people that have traditionally had that attitude, which may be a good thing. Maybe they'll recreate it well enough, but it's not going to be the exact same. You can't really expect that. So
it's a tough one.
Yeah, it's so unique that with so many like intricacies that you can't emulate it to where it's just not going to be a completely different game. So
for sure. And there's some other amazing Star Wars games out there. Like, I mean, Force Unleashed was fun. It was really fun. It was, once you play something like Jedi Academy and then you go to Fallen Order, KOTOR, all these other games, it's kind of tough because you're immediately restricted in what you can do. Because KOTOR's like seriously, I rate it very close to a 10 out of 10 game. It's so good. But once you play Jedi Academy and then you go to KOTOR, you are immediately grounded. And you can feel it.
Yeah.
You're like, I want to jump over. I want to, so it's,
the freedom.
You can't, it's tough.
I think we might eventually get something like that, like with that freedom, similar to like swinging your saber the way you want to swing it, jump to where you want to jump, stuff like that. But it's never going to be the exact same. Mm-hmm. But I really think Jedi Academy shines in just how the servers were set up too. Just like you mentioned it in your video briefly, to where like you join a server and it's like just like a sandbox. Like you join and there's like, it's not just an immediate like battle of like you're trying to get to the highest score or whatever. I mean, it was built that way, but it just didn't end up being that way. Mm-hmm. It's just like you join, there's a section of a map of people doing that, and like just doing a free-for-all or whatever, and just like going nuts on each other. And then you have another section of the map that's like people just chatting or like, jumping around, like goofing off. And then you have another section of the map, strafing around. Another section of the map with people like dueling, like private dueling, and or like training, like having a lightsaber class, like stuff like that. It's like there's no other game that has done that in the Star Wars catalog so far. So I think that aspect alone is what really makes Jedi Academy the most unique. And then I would put the combat like below that, and I think it's something that could be recreated. It's
Gary's mod with lightsabers. It really is.
Yeah,
kind of. I can explain it in my head. Nothing else comes close.
Yeah.
Which is why you should and you shouldn't remake it. So take whatever you want from that.
Yeah. I think that sort of experience could be recreated in a modern game, like just having like a sandbox of like, with built-in not RPG elements, but like, like building your lightsaber and like going to classes and stuff like that. Kind of like Hogwarts Legacy is right now, with like you're a new wizard or whatever. You'd like be a new Padawan, but it'd be like multiplayer, and you could like go to different maps and stuff like that. You could do it with your friends. Like you could just sit there and chat if you wanted. Like I think that could be recreated.
Absolutely. Does it make money? That's the thing. what it's all
I
about.
think that would make a lot of money.
I would hope so. Because it sounds amazing to me. But,
yeah. Be like my dream game. Like if you could go to any planet and just like hang out with your friends.
What's it called? I was just speaking to them today. JK Galaxies. Kind of how that was originally like thought out, like as an MMORPG.
Yeah.
Like in JK.
Yeah.
Like that sort of thing, I think. Is that kind of what you mean?
Kinda, yeah. Or kind of like the Old Republic, where, I mean, it's an MMO, but, you know, like mixing all those kind of aspects together, I think could be really cool.
Yeah.
But your rating, or your anticipated rating of like 7.5 out of 10 is probably pretty accurate compared to a lot of the other Star Wars games that are out there so far. I would probably agree with that. Thanks, Link, for joining me on this long video, just catching up and reminiscing about one of our favorite games. It has been fun. You have a video that you made.
It's called A Love Letter to Jedi Academy, where it just basically go over like what the game meant to me growing up, how it's sort of impacted my life, and just changed my life overall, really. So spent a good 2 years thinking about it, putting it together in my head, and I've just been doing it the last 6 or 7 months in good old Sony Vegas. So yeah, it's been a journey. It's really kind of just reignited my love for the game. And no more clans, by the way, I'm done. But it just made me really appreciate the game itself. So yeah. Circa's kindly offered to put the video in the description, so if you want to check it out, feel free. Don't mind if you do, don't mind if you don't. I just appreciate if you do, then I appreciate it. Yeah,
it's a really good video.
I learned quite a lot about you today. Single player scrub.
I think we learned a lot about each other. Yeah. Now everyone's just gonna judge me after they watch this.
Rightfully so.
He only played single player for 4 years in a row.
You had to talk to Rosh for 4 years. I'm so sorry.
No, you replace Rosh. That's the first mod you're supposed to do.
Okay, fair enough.
I have one of those mods that I made. I made him a Rhodian, and so you don't have to hear his annoying voice. You just have to.
So he just talks Rhodian when you talk to him, and it's just subtitles. That's a good idea, actually. I get that.